Welcome everybody back to another bold cast reaction. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
And this is Demon Slayer, episode 2 of season 4. Let's check it out. Yeah, this creepy fucking bird.
I just love how wise this bird is. Like, he just sounds like he's just so good, you know.
That's what the pitter patter was about. I love that this is like also kind of a threat.
Damn, we can get new locks on our windows.
Crows are really smart, you know. Whoa.
あの日起きた出来事がここに来て大きなうねりとなってまさか玉代様ここを引き払うことは変わりません。これまでとは違います。私もすぐにこれまでの研究結果をまとめます。ユシロウも手伝ってください。最後の転居になるかもしれません。行きましょう。鬼殺隊の本拠地産屋敷邸へ。
I thought he was dead.
He's pretty close.
Finally get to learn about Tomioka.
もし一人ぼっちの人がいたとして、その人に一人ぼっちじゃないですよってどう伝えれば分かってもらえると思いますか？
私にもよくわかりませんが、炭治郎さんはそうと思っているんですよね。私なら手をいてほしいです。もうお出かけになるんですか？
はい。
That doesn't really help me at all,
Yeah.
lady.
I'd want you to not do what you're about to do.
はい。難しいね。
It's a good way, giving them some food. Always a solid option.
ごめんください。富岡さん。こんにちは。すみません。 帰ります。帰りますだな。聞き間違いだ。
He's like
An inch in front of his face. There's like this giant hall.
匂いがするんですけど、何に怒ってるんですか？呼吸を極めなかったことを怒ってる。水柱にならなければならなかった。それは申し訳なかったです。でも、urokodakiさんとも話したんですけど、変えたり、新しい呼吸を派生させるのはじゃないそうなので、技が基礎に沿ったものだから派生した呼吸も多いって。るんじゃない。水柱が不在の今、水柱にならなければならない。水柱が不在？ ギユさんがいるじゃないですか。水柱じゃない。
Wait, really? I thought he was. Wasn't he introduced as Water Hashira? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Or was it something else and I'm just completely out of my mind? Maybe they didn't say on purpose. But I thought they introduced him like in the first season as Water Hashira.
I thought so. I mean, maybe he's...
Maybe we just assumed. Maybe it's just really clever, you know? That would be crazy if they just like introduced everyone else and then they just said Giyu Tomioka. Blah, 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 hashira.
I'm pretty sure he is, but maybe he just doesn't want to be or something.
Or he doesn't see himself as worthy for some reason. Get out of my house. Like all the power lines. It's kind of crazy.
I have a strategy to just annoy him 24/7.
He's like sleep deprived. Yes, that's it. Break down. Break down those walls. Oh.
Really?
Oh shit. I think they alluded to that like in episode 3
Yeah,
when they were
it's been a very
look at
long
him.
time.
Flashback? Oh damn. Oh, I thought we were gonna get a flashback. That was crazy. You remember that episode? They were like ghosts. Urokodaki, right. You never show his face. Holy shit. He was so cool. The tongue? Oh. Oh, this
No,
fucker.
I hate that thing.
And he's wearing the same, the pattern on Sabito's thing is the same as half of Gyu's shit. Oh, so he technically passed, but he considers it a dishonor. That's sad.
義勇さんは煉獄さん、命をかけて俺たちを守ってくれたすごい人だった。誰よりも優しくて強かった。見事な生き様だった。最後まで俺が死んだらよかったんじゃないかと思った。煉獄さんならいつか無惨を倒せたんじゃないかって。信じると言われたならそれに応えること。
That was such a good speech.
そうだ。だけど義勇さんに何て言ったらいいんだろう。何惨めでも恥ずかしくても生きていかなきゃならない。止めてないけど柱になるまで義勇さんがどれだけ自分を叱咤して叩き上げてきただけ苦しい思いをしてきたことかがとやかく言えることじゃない。だけどどうしても一つだけことがある。義勇さん、止まってくれない。義勇さんはサビトから託されたものを繋いでいかないんですか。サビトが死ねばよかって二度と言うなよ。
Look how tiny the rock is. Did it grow?
に祝言をあげるはずだったお前の姉も承知の上で鬼からお前を隠して守ってくれた。でもないお前が前の姉を暴走。
So he went through a very similar thing to Tanjiro as well. Like a number of the hashira.
俺が命を託された未来をお前もつなぐんだ。キユ。痛い。張り飛ばされた衝撃と痛みが蘇る。なぜ忘れていたあのやりとり。大事なことだろう。ツタコ姉さん、サビト、未熟でごめん。まずい、ピクリともしなくなったぞ。
Oh shit. Maybe I said the wrong thing after all.
そういう打ちかけてしまったのかな。早食い勝負をするのはどうだろう。勝負で元気出して稽古しませんかみたいな。俺はまだ復帰許可降りてないから手合わせ的なことできないし。キユさん寡黙だけど早食いなら提案だ。
I don't know about that.
You're so smart.
遅れてしまったが、俺も稽古に。
キユさん、ざるそば早食い勝負しませんか。
You just convinced him. What are you talking about? He accepted.
稽古についてなんだが、校長に関して聞いてなかったな。
姉さん、私を落ち着かせて。感情の制御ができないのは未熟者。未熟者です。
What is she frustrated about?
師範、お戻りでしたか。私はこれから風柱様の稽古に行ってまいります。班の稽古は岩柱様の後でよろしいですか。今回の柱稽古には参加できません。
Is she upset about that? And because she has to do it with Tomio?
私、もっと師範と稽古したいです。もう随分自分の気持ちを素直に言えるようになりましたね。やはり良い頃合いだわ。かなえを殺した鬼について話したいと思います。そしてその鬼の殺し方について話しておきましょう。
Nice.
What do you think of the episode?
I really like this episode. I feel like I'm really enjoying the slower pace so far of this season. I did see people people seem to be annoyed and mad about it.
It's more that they're stretching 8 chapters or 9 chapters into 8 episodes.
But I guess for me, if there's nothing, if I don't feel like there's something really important that is like time crunching and we're like taking so long to like avoid getting to that thing. If I'm not anticipating really anything urgent and I'm not like, why are you having this talk by this river when you could be doing this? Mm-hmm. I don't mind. Like I like seeing this, and I feel like so far I've been liking the characters a lot more and getting more attached to them than I have in the previous seasons.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like so far in just these 2 episodes, I like almost every character that we've interacted with more than I did before. And a lot of the characters I feel like I was kind of indifferent on. I was like, okay, you're cool and flashy and you're kind of badass or whatever, but I feel like previously I wouldn't have really gotten a lot out of it. And maybe it's just me and like the vibe that I'm at right now, but I feel like the very relaxed nature of this season so far I'm just content to listen to the characters and their stories and like get a feel for their personalities and even I'm not like crying because of the tragic backstory, I'm like invested and I'm like, okay, I want to see like how this develops and where this goes. Mm-hmm. And it's, it's mixed in with the funny humor of Tanjiro being like, oh no, did I, or just like harassing him for like weeks or days. I
really like that we're getting into his backstory now because a lot of people complained last season, like it was kind of a bit too much of, this character's, interacting now, so now we're going to cut into the action to show their backstory. That can be a problem, but what can also be a problem is like the other option is front loading the backstory before you get into the action, and then it's just a bunch of big block of exposition. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's as big of a problem when it's for a character like Giyu, who's been there since episode 1, but that backstory clearly has been there and been set up, and if you had paid attention, you could probably guess it. But it's not like, oh, I need backstory for this character who's been like cool and mysterious, but like I need to, fill them out a little bit more before this final arc. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's clearly been there. It's just that we haven't had the time to seek it out. So he's a character that's been there, that we've questioned about, that we've been interested in. So now taking the time outside of combat before the arc to really, get to know him a lot better. Mm-hmm. It feels very natural. It doesn't feel like it's interrupting anything. It feels like something that's been built up and that has had backstory just not been touched on. It's not like it got filled in after the fact when it needed the backstory. The backstory's been there. We just haven't interacted with it enough to find it. So I like that. It's a good balance. It's not interrupting the action, and it's not front loading with a bunch of exposition for a character that we aren't super attached to. We're already kind of interested in him. So I like this being the approach taken right now for this kind of an arc. I will say, Demon Slayer is like one of the best we talk about like bad direct, like how a bad direction can ruin a you know, even a decently written story or a well written story if it's poorly directed. Demon Slayer is like one of the best directed shows ever, and I think that's what really makes the show, is that it feels things that are not super or don't have a lot of substance to them can feel extremely impactful because of the use of music and editing and stuff like that. The consequence of having so little material for this amount of time for a show like this, the consequence of that is that it's going to there's not going to be opportunities for good direction. If things are stretched out like this, I notice a lot more. There's a lot of, you know, like dialogue scenes in Demon Slayer are usually a little bit more dynamic. They're a little bit more interesting than dialogue scenes in other short shows. Like when they're actually talking, sometimes it'll be just they're laughing and joking around and making a bunch of crazy, stupid jokes for like way too long. But when they get into dialogue, normally in Demon Slayer, there's dynamic shots. There's like, if there's a flashback, it's like a quick visual flashback in a character's mind and like movement in their face and blinking and like, you know, different facial expressions and animation and, you know, depth of field and like different things going on. With this episode and last episode specifically, there's been a lot more, like this episode more, I'd say, because if this episode felt a little bit more drawn out, not in a bad way necessarily, just that like I said, if you have such little material to be stretched over so many episodes in a show like Demon Slayer, which is known for being really well directed, it's like there's not much to work, there's not much material to work with, there's not much clay to make shit out of, you know what I'm saying? So like you have a lot more static character with mouth flaps, you know, and then that piece of dialogue ends, cut to another shot, direct, like one after the other. This shot of mouth flaps, this shot of character mouth flaps, this shot of character mouth flaps. You know, and there's still good shot composition. The backgrounds are great. The character designs are still good. Everybody looks really on model. It's well polished. Like, it's not like there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it normally Demon Slayer takes that extra step to make things a little bit more dynamic, even in dialogue scenes. It's something that I usually really appreciate. But when you have so little material, there's not the opportunities to do that. So, you know, you don't see a lot of that dynamic interaction with the characters and the camera or the background or, you know, facial expressions, things like that. That like unique little flair that happens in dialogue scenes to keep them kind of interesting. And more like there's not a lot of J or L cuts between like, oh, it's like some characters will start talking and then stop talking and then it cuts. In Demon Slayer, normally it's like characters will talk and then we'll get a facial reaction or, you know, like some piece of dynamic shit. And for episodes that we're facing now where it's much more dialogue driven, like, and without a lot of action, where we're not cutting between action and flashback and dialogue and action and whatever, where it's full on interactions with the characters. It's a shame that there isn't enough material to work with to allow for there to be that kind of interesting direction to come through. Again, not that it's bad, it's still better than most shows, and I wouldn't fault it then like for, you know, I don't know, like I wouldn't fault it for that problem. It's not a skill issue. It's not like the people making it don't know what they're doing or they made bad choices. It's just that for the amount of episodes there are, for the amount of chapters there seem to be, I can see how that produces some of the, again, not problems, just like the inability to reach to the heights that they normally do in terms of direction. That's what it is. It's not like it's bad now. It's that it was exceptional in a lot of places in terms of presentation. That's what Demon Slayer is known for. And now because of this, a consequence of it is that they don't have enough space to maneuver towards that standard. But it's still, you know, it's still very good. And I actually do agree with you where I've been excited about Tomioka's backstory. I've been interested in learning about him. And I'm completely satisfied with spending time with him and seeing Shinobu and what's her name? Does
it start with a K?
There's Sanai. Is it Kanai? Is that right? I don't know. Anyway. yeah, I forget her name, sorry. But, like, I'm interested in learning about that. I'm seeing her character development where she was completely blank slate, and then meeting Tanjiro kind of, like, introduced some emotion into her life and sort of broke through this barrier that Shinobu and her sister had been trying to do when she was little. You know, I'm excited for the actual character development. I'm feeling more attached to... I'm feeling more bought into the struggle and, like, their situation right now, because they're getting some downtime to really, you know, get that out of the audience, and I'm feeling that. So again, it's not a like what I was saying wasn't a criticism of Demon Slayer wholesale or this season necessarily, or definitely not a criticism of the production team, because again, like the presentation of Demon Slayer is what makes Demon Slayer, and they always do a great job. It's just that there's not really much of a choice to be made when it's stretched thin, and for, you know, one chapter, a little more than one chapter per episode worth of content. That's the kind of shit that we get in, like, One Piece, and then, you know, or One Piece or Naruto, or take your pick of, like, the old school style shonen. At least where we are in One Piece. I don't know about modern One Piece. I'm not talking about that, but you know, it was a problem that has been solved by the seasonal format. But to put something like Demon Slayer in that position, that, you know, rather than, like, it's in the position now that shows like One Piece were in, or have been in for a long time, where it's like, oh, well, how do we stretch a chapter into a 20-minute episode, you know? And I think they did it really well here. Like, they used a lot of flashback. I imagine there was even more flashback than there might have been in the previous, in the manga, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Like, all of this together is, I think they're handling it, I think, better than most people would, as far as, you know, it being stretched thin, if what people are saying is fully true.
Yeah.
But I like it.
I also find that I don't, because of, like, they're doing flashbacks to things that I watched, like, years ago at this point, I really don't mind, and in fact, I prefer it, and I like a little bit longer of a flashback as just a reminder to me, because this is, like, I enjoy it, like, watching this show, but it's not something that I'm, like, thinking about constantly.
Right.
I'm like, oh, Demon Slayer's back. I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see what happens next. But it's not something that I have gone back and rewatched, or am theorizing about and thinking about in the months that it's gone. Yeah. I'm enjoying it while it's on, and then getting excited, like, when it comes out again.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the flashbacks, and it's much better than in a lot of shows, like in something like Naruto, where they're flashbacking to something that happened last episode, and it's like a 3-minute flashback, you know?
Yeah.
So,
obligatory Naruto comparison.
Yeah.
As always, from Lindsay.
Yeah. I could have said One Piece, but you were just talking about One Piece, so yeah. But yeah, I like this. I really liked all of this, like the stuff with the backstory and bringing it back to early on in season 1 with Tanjiro's training and stuff. I feel like I liked that connection back to Tanjiro and back to kind of what the show used to be about really early on.
When they showed Sabito and his cloak, and that, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Giyu's wearing the same thing. I thought that it was that's pattern. Like, I noticed that in season 1, but I figured that pattern was probably just Urokodaki's students, you know, like they all wear like similar shit, you know. But and then it was like kind of, I was like, oh, maybe the other half is like either just his, or I think it was Makomo was the girl ghost that was there, but they didn't mention her. I thought that she was going to be there too, and they both died, or like he got there and then she died, and then it was just them, and they were gonna like avenge her, and then he died, and then that would like compound the stress. But instead it was his sister's kimono or whatever. Yeah,
that's cool, and I like that. I like that it gives him
depth.
I like that he's wearing that and kind of like carrying it. It's a physical representation, and instead of it being like, oh, what Tanjiro's trying to get through to him of like, oh, well, you're carrying them with you, but in a like a good way. It's like it's weighing down on him, and he's carrying them with him in a bad way, where it's weighing down on him, and he's feeling like he's not deserving because, you know, they were better.
Yeah.
And it should have been them. Whereas it should be like, you know, they did the best that they could, and now I need to do the best that I can, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see him, you know, help Tanjiro a bit and train him up and stuff. I feel like that could be fun.
Yeah. Leave a like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
Bye.